Welcome back. This is Cody Hart for Government Accountability. It is November 13th, and this is the second in a two-part series for election integrity training. In this video, I'll be going over election integrity reporting to local and state officials. This is a pretty thorough review of what I've had to experience. It'll hit on a lot of the big points, hopefully save some people some time, and hopefully explain and depict the mess that we have here in Washington State that I and others are trying to fix. We're pretty far along in this, so we are getting to a final conclusion on this, but I wanted to share with everyone examples and show you guys firsthand what happens when you try to report on election integrity issues. So to start, I thought I'd point out to everyone the website for the Office of Financial Management, which has the official state government organization chart posted on it, and the most current one that I know is available is 2021. And so here's what that PDF looks like. It's free to download from that website, and it goes over the different branches of state government: legislative, executive, and judicial. And as you can see here, it goes over and gives you the titles for all 9 of the executive branches: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And you'll see here, when it comes to reporting, you can eliminate a few of these just off the obvious title: Commissioner of Public Lands, Insurance Commissioner, Treasurer, Lieutenant Governor are not really relevant to anything. The Governor, Attorney General, Auditor, and Secretary of State are relevant. Superintendent of Schools is not relevant. So we really have 4 branches as citizens, residents of the state, to deal with the executive branch: Governor, Attorney General, Auditor, and Secretary of State. So let's start off by looking at the different jobs of each of these. And this is from the Washington State Legislative website. You can read what their individual roles are for those who don't know. For the sake of this video, I'm not going to go into each of that, but I want to tell you my experience with going through these. So first off, I have requested the assistance of the governor, and he has not responded. I believe he's a dirtbag criminal and will never respond to supporting the Constitution, because that would make his blood boil and he would fall over dead. So that leaves me with the other branches, which are very similar to him, but I can share a little more firsthand experience with them. So let's go into this letter here. This is a letter from the Attorney General's office, and you will see on here to me, Mr. Hart, in which I described to him the primary election, illegal obstruction of election observers, and he responded, and this is the important part: with respect to your concerns about criminal actions, I encourage you to contact law enforcement and/or your county prosecuting attorney's office. In Washington, prosecuting attorneys generally have primary jurisdiction over criminal investigations. The criminal jurisdiction of the Attorney General's office is quite limited. And I went through this in another video. Local prosecuting attorneys have to make referrals. They have to make referrals to the state attorney general to request their assistance, so the attorney general appears to have an out. I'm not totally convinced of this, but that's what they're telling everybody. I'm going to make some other videos to kind of talk about my beliefs about what's going on here. But for this, we'll just leave it at this as face value. Criminal jurisdiction of Attorney General's office is quite limited. So Attorney General says local prosecuting attorney is where you should be reporting things. Another one I've showed people in the past is this video, this email from the auditor, in which it states in here, it was aware of my hotline submission. Again, I went over this in another video. And it states in here, we do not have authority to investigate election fraud. Okay, and it indicates in here, you may wish to contact Secretary of State Elections Department. So we got 2 of the 4 already done, and actually the Attorney General, Governor is done. So let's just go into the final state branch, and that is the one everyone would think you would report to, and that is the Secretary of State's office. And so Secretary of State, I had to deal with this issue with them, and I had tried to get them to intervene, and they just simply turned out to be not the agency I thought they were. You'll see this response here from Mr. Stuart Holmes. He is in charge of the Elections Division of the Secretary of State's office. In this, he responds when I requested a criminal referral to the Attorney General, and I notified him of some criminal activity. Responded, "I am not aware of any formal process such as a referral. You might want to contact the county prosecuting attorney's office." And then he goes on here to make the statement of the Attorney General's office criminal jurisdiction in this area is very limited. So what we have now are the four branches that were meaningful to us. The Secretary of State, the Auditor, the Governor, and the Attorney General have all said, yes, the Attorney General is the only one, but theirs is very limited. It has to be referred. So you have to go through a prosecuting attorney's office. So I just want to take a moment to really emphasize what this shows and what I have found. It's been generally consistent. In Washington State, it's important for you as an election integrity advocate and for just generally the population to understand there is no state agency which will initiate, which is in charge of, nor has any sense of accountability to us, the public, on election integrity. I told you in these correspondence, and it's been pretty consistent, they refer everything to a different county level agency, and then to come back to them. So that took me a long time to understand in Washington State how this was set up. And it's consistent in the sense of the state does not want election integrity. So they've done everything they can to get it out off their books and to write it out of the laws. And that's what they've done. Don't think that they have any authority or responsibility for it, because they have made it very clear they will not ever address this issue in the state of Washington unless they're forced to. And if they're forced to through local government steps that they don't really want to do. So that's what this all tells us. So next, I want to get into expanding on this Secretary of State discussion before we get into the local governments. And I have a conversation here that I want everyone to listen to. It's very informative, and I'll expand on it as it goes through. Its website, where is instructions to the public on how to submit concerns about election procedures and compliance?
So we have a form for voters on submitting HAVA, the Help America Voter Act complaints, which is required by federal law, but we also have our contact information available on our website.
Okay, so the HAVA one is not a all-encompassing subject matter.
Correct.
That will only address certain items.
Complaints.
Yeah, so state violations, not federal. How is that process being conveyed to the public? What's the public? Where's the instruction to them on how to do this? How to submit those concerns?
Besides the information about how the process is completed with our contact information, we don't have a specific page that's dedicated to filing complaints with our office, no.
Okay. And that is something the public can do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the public is more than welcome to send complaints directly to our elections inbox or to our voter hotline if they're seeing anything of concern. And then, as you know, the public can also submit those directly to the Secretary of State's inbox as well, if they feel like that's a more appropriate destination for their concern.
And I was not actually aware of that, but I'm more interested in which one is the preferred route or the one the public should know. Yeah, I will be informing the public of this, by the way.
The elections, I think it's elections at sos.wa.gov will be the one that my team would handle. And so, that would be my preferred, because then that way I can elevate to federal or state resources as appropriate.
Okay. And so let's say I'm on your screen right now for elections. I was prepared for that. And then what the public should do then is the preferred method if they want to express a concern, and it will be dealt with, is under contact us. And I see the email.
So they're on. If you're down in the footer area, or are you looking in the menu under contact info?
Well, under contact info, I see the elections at sos.wa.gov. And so that's the one I will share with people. And then, okay. And then second, I've been very interested in the annual reporting from the that's required of the Secretary of State to the legislature. Okay, and I hope you don't mind, but my understanding is the auditor is not required to share complaints with the Secretary of State. Is that your understanding?
Complaints that they receive to
At a county level.
Their general inbox?
Yeah, so to my understanding, the county auditors are not required to inform the Secretary of State's office of any local complaint or concerns submitted to them.
Yeah, I'm not aware of any law that requires that either.
Okay, so in the past, one thing I've realized is that while groups of people, and I'll speak about Skagit County, have submitted complaints and potential violations of both WAC and RCWs to the auditor at their county level, the Secretary of State is not necessarily being informed of that, and that means the legislature is not receiving that information in the annual report. Is that a fair concern? I mean, is that...
Well, I mean, in the annual report, we don't have a requirement to accumulate and report statistical information on the number of complaints we received. The statute in state law has very specific things that we're required to report. We do include additional information that isn't required in state law in that report as well. So if that is something the legislature is interested in hearing, we would certainly compile it the best that we could through surveys or collection methods. But I think specifically to answer your question for people that are concerned if their report isn't getting communicated to us would be to include our inbox, which is common, for people to CC our general inbox and on complaints that they have with specific counties or their county elections office or multiple offices if they have that.
Okay.
Because like we've talked about before, we use those complaints in scheduling reviews of county elections offices as required in the law.
Yeah, that's my understanding as well. So, such as like the 2019 review that you guys issued, the kind of complaints that would be submitted to you by the public may actually identify things that should be identified in those kind of review reports.
Right.
Okay. I wanted to make sure I understood that, and I will be sharing that with the public because I think that's important for the public to understand. I
appreciate that, Cody.
All right. So let's go over what we just clarified from the Secretary of State's office. First off, there has never been a centralized method of reporting concerns. They mentioned something about a hotline, but there's no instructions for anybody anywhere. I've never found them, and I just don't think they've ever existed. So we are left with a couple things. First off, your auditors, when you send them information, I suspected this for a long time, and then I found out, and I was just confirming it. They've been concealing information for years, years upon years. So if a regional county election integrity group submitted information to the auditor, did not follow the process that I went over earlier, then guess what? That information never made it anywhere, and nobody will be held accountable. That was a complete waste of time for everybody. But if you send it to the Secretary of State's office, election office, both of those, CC it, you're likely going to increase your odds of there being accountability. Will there be? Not necessarily. Again, they try as hard as they can at the state level to never do anything. They will point their finger at anyone else they can, but at least you have records of it. And that is what I'm trying to convey here is the process I have found to produce the most consistent level of record keeping and accountability. Because they're getting pretty nervous with what I've been doing to them. And if others out there follow similar processes, they won't have a lot of excuses, and it will just be an open situation between the government and the people. Well, we already know it in the election integrity fight, but we're trying to wake the people up on what the government's been doing. So let's look here now, moving forward. You have gone through and let's say you've gone through and you found something. I want to point this out to you because the canvassing board is something I haven't talked about. The canvassing board, WAC 434-262-015. I want to make sure I point this out to everybody. The final sentence of this says, in the event the canvassing board concludes that criminal activity may have occurred, the county auditor must refer the ballot and any relevant material to the county sheriff and county prosecuting attorney. I've gotten this process taken care of in the past for forged ballots that county canvassing boards had never acted on, and I forced them to return them into the sheriff's office in Skagit County, which resulted in what I understand is the largest criminal forgery investigation in state history. They simply will sit on it. This is very political to them. You have to hold them accountable in election integrity. So when you document things that are a violation of state law, you need to request they refer them to the sheriff and prosecuting attorney. I have a example of where someone might do this. Let's say you go into the canvassing board manual, and it will give you in this manual typically the process. It should. You should demand it if they don't do it. The communication protocol for the canvassing board. And in this manual, it is indicated in here, written comments may be submitted in person or via email. And they gave me a Skagit County Elections email to send information to. And then those members of the public wishing to reach out to the canvassing board can email the Skagit County Election Office and they'll give you this email. So these are public records. The big trick that has been out there, for those who've been following, Skagit County Canvassing Board did not keep records or have any public meetings or comments for over 15 years. I mean, they were a rogue agency board who had corrupted over a decade of elections, and they got away with it by not having this protocol publicly available, and we reached out and got them held accountable on that. So let's talk about an email that I sent. See here, you'll see in the primary election with the election observer violation notification, I like to put in the subject notification of what I'm emailing, so it can be found easily in future searches for public records requests. And to use the term violation and notification are two keywords I like to put in all the subject headings of anything I really want to make sure is not disregarded in future records requests as non-relevant. So people are asking, I'd like a copy of all violations or notifications of violations or blah, blah, blah. This helps other people find it and helps the legislature find it. If they look for it, they never will. And now you'll see I put on here, you'll see I did exactly what Mr. Holmes had stated. This is a while ago. I'd CC'd Stuart Holmes as the election manager for the state of Washington. And then I notified him of the violations of state law by Gabriel Clay. Now, he did not act on that to my knowledge, and that's to his and the Secretary of State's detriment that we'll be in the future dealing with. They just closed their eyes to it. But I did what I needed to in this step. You have to first report it. That is what this video is about. It's election integrity training. You need to go through the process of proper reporting and understanding who will and can do what. So we've gone through the state, and now we're down to the local government. And so Skagit County Canvassing Board is one of the first ones. They include the auditor, but don't be afraid to CC the auditor directly. And then you have the public comments. And then you have to send in requests. That's my recommendation. You request that the criminal referral be made. You request that the action be taken, or they can claim they never knew what you were writing them about. You just told them something. Okay. Now, is that legitimate? No. Is it just? No. But it's just how things work. And so take away their easy excuses. And then we get into the matter of once it's referred to the sheriff and the prosecuting attorneys. And I have put extensive number of videos out that in the recent several months, we have the worst case scenario, because up till this point, it could have been handled by a number of ways. But when it gets to the sheriff and the prosecuting attorney step, you will need to make a decision if you are comfortable, and I hope all of you are, to put your name down on a piece of paper and submit a witness statement affidavit. And that's where it turns from election integrity into criminal reporting. So I think that's a good spot to end this video. And I have to tell everyone, I've been on this path. I have submitted multiple criminal reports, and they are a witness statement to local law enforcement prosecuting attorney's office, and that's where I'm at with it now. But to capture what I wanted to get across, I think I've done a good job in this video showing you what you're going to combat in the world of election integrity and the reporting process at local and state level. So, as a recap, state does not want to have anything to do with election integrity. They've proven that through their legislation, they've proven it through their responses. I've shown you examples of it. You have to force them to. You have to. Then what agencies have the most play in this whole game? It'll be the Secretary of State and the Attorney General. And then you need to go through the reporting process at a local level and to get them involved. So remember, you have to document it through your reporting of the local auditor and canvassing board, and then CC, include and notify the Secretary of State's office, whether you do that through the elections, the Secretary of State themselves, the hotline, or all of them. Just you have to do it. And then you have to follow up requesting the criminal process of them. You have to request they use their powers, tell them what laws were broken, state the RCWs, and request that they do their job. And hopefully that gets it resolved, and we have our local law enforcement and prosecutors take care of it. But again, that's not always the case, and we're fighting a very evil group of people, and Skagit County, the evilest of all. And we are winning here. I'm optimistic about that. It's just a hell of a fight. And that's my training for you today. I hope you guys really pay attention in this election integrity effort. It is not one for those who think this isn't a it's not a sprint is what I'm trying to say. You're in for the long game. If you plan on making any difference, that's likely what you're going to have to do. This is about attrition. This is about perseverance. And that's my end of this video, and I hope you keep watching them. I got more coming out. Thank you very much.